Good day, everyone. My name is Jason Gomez Manasilia, and today I'm going to share with you the results of my classroom-based action research entitled "Fostering Student Participation Through Differentiated Collaborative Activities in Teaching Science." To give you a short background on why I decided to conduct this research, so this is based on what I have observed during my immersion in the actual teaching and environment that I noticed that in the field of sciences, there are three prevailing problems. So, first, the low level of content mastery among students. Second, the lack of continuity in the lessons. And the third is the loss of motivation or interest in learning. Among these three, the issue with the highest order of priority that needs to be addressed is how to encourage students to be participative and motivated to learn. This is because content mastery is impossible to achieve if students are not willing to engage in discussions necessary to master the lessons. And continuity will not be established unless the students are motivated to go beyond what they learn inside the classroom. So, to improve or there are strategies there are several recommended strategies to improve the level of motivation and participation in students, which include the use of testative methods, differentiated instruction, activity-based learning, and restructuring of classroom activities. um, One of the uh, references I have read mentioned that um, one of the best ways um, on fostering participation among students is through the use of collaborative tasks. So, according to Bonaventura, emphasized that students prefer learning science by sharing knowledge, which can be capitalized further by providing students time to deliberate and discuss with one another through collaborative activities. So that is what I wanted to do with um, this research. There are a lot of factors that affect the students' motivation. Um, there are actually eight. Three are internal and five are external. And those five factors are things that we cannot change since they are things that are outside our um, area of expertise or area of responsibility. They are beyond our beyond our control. The things that are beyond our control. So I want to focus on the three. The internal motivation, self-esteem, motivation, and fear. So usually on self-esteem and motivation. Um, it was mentioned there that students are more likely to be motivated to learn when they work with one another. So uh, I decided to investigate if utilizing differentiated collaborative activities will foster student participation among the students as well. So differentiated collaborative activities is still under differentiated instruction, but unlike tired assignments and project menus wherein um, there is there is an emphasis on student diversity. um, DCA, differentiated collaborative activities, um, focuses on giving the students the freedom to express themselves and to progress at their own pace. That's the goal of DCA. So regarding that, um, for this research, I want to explore the potential of utilizing DCA in fostering classroom participation in teaching science among grade 7 students. So supposedly I was planning to conduct it among grade 10 students under the SPTVE program. But since there are unforeseen circumstances and there are changes, I decided to push through with my research with my students during the internship, which are grade 7 students under the basic education program. Fostering motivation among students through differentiated collaborative activities may increase, although it is a likely chance that it may increase the level of participation of the students during discussions, which will be crucial in developing mastery, and it might also improve their academic performance. So, to answer the research problem, I wanted to answer these three specific questions. The first is, how does DCA affect students' motivation to participate during discussions? The second is, how does level of motivation and participation influence academic performance? And number three, what are the students' perception about the use of that method? Okay. So for our methodology, so after establishing the extent of my project, of my research, so I decided to focus on how to do it and how to implement it. So for my research, I wanted to follow the mixed method approach. So it is both qualitative and quasi-experimental. So it is quasi-experimental because for my selected participants, uh, I selected two of the sections or the learning groups, the classes that I managed. So two grade 7 classes under the BEP of Camarines International High School in the Liboton Annex were chosen as the participants of our intervention. So the first section, 7 Goa, is the it is the experimental group, and 7 Kalabanga um, is the control group. So for the experimental group, they are the students who will be receiving, um, will be tasked to do collaborative tasks most of the time. So for the data gathering procedure, after establishing rapport with the persons in charge, we decided to implement the intervention. So I was able to implement my intervention 3 times. So one for my lesson on natural resources, the second is for my lesson on wind systems, then the third one was my lesson on springs, on seasons. Okay. So the implementation of the intervention, then um, before, during, and after the intervention, I observe my class um, very keenly to know if there are changes in their performance or behaviors. Then, after direct observation, I also seek feedbacking from my cooperating teacher. So, my cooperating teacher is Ma'am Dolores Nasayaw, and she gave me pointers to improve my method in teaching. And the last data gathering procedure that I conducted was the focus group discussion. So I was not able um, to interview and to discuss with the other students about their experiences when I was teaching them, but I was still able to get a few accounts from several students under the from the experimental group. So for our research instruments, I use three. So the first one is the guidelines in the implementation of the intervention. So aside from the revised lesson plan, I also provide the guidelines for the activities that I want to implement. Then I have the observation notes, which um, observation notes those are notes of my direct observation before, during, and after the intervention, as well as the guide for the focus group discussion. So for ethical considerations, I establish rapport with the people that will be um, uh, for the people that will be affected or will be tapped by my research. Then um, I also requested for informed consent, so for the parents consent, that I can uh, I can include the students and to use them, I mean uh, to have them as our participants in our intervention. So for the data analysis, there are actually just three plans for the data analysis. So the first one was after the direct observations. The results of direct observations were collated and compared between the two participating groups, the experimental and the control group. Then the second one is for the results of the summative tests. So every after the lesson, there will be summative test conducted. Then the results of the summative tests the um, for the two participating groups were compared using t-test. Then the last one is the inputs from focus group discussion and feedbacking were subjected to thematic analysis to determine overarching themes. So the inputs from the focus group discussion um, was my third um, for my third research objective, while for the overarching themes, this is on what are the things that I can improve during my uh, instruction. So based on the results of the data I have gathered. So for the first one, how does DCA affect the students' motivation? This is um, answered by the results I got from direct observation, um, as well as consulting consulting my cooperating teacher. So, in the experimental group, most of the time were spent in the preparation and exploration. That even though students were able to progress at their own pace, they focus on their individual tasks. So, when I was implementing my intervention, it was such a hassle since I plan to conduct it um, at specific duration, but it was always not followed since uh, the students spend most of their time in preparation that they don't have enough time to make what they learn more concrete or to construct more knowledge from what they did. So instead um, of uh, giving their attention, or instead of being interested with what the other groups are also preparing, students were able to focus on themselves only. So they were not able to um, they were not able to construct knowledge that um, they were not able to
construct the knowledge from the activities, the set of activities that they do in the class. On the contrary, the control group were able to maximize time kasi nga it is because for the control group we are mostly discussing topics, and for the discussions there are a lot of um, Socratic questioning. So the students were able to expound, even to expound and to clarify things, even though the lesson is mostly lecture type. So for the conclusion, collaborative tasks work best for exploratory activities, and it will only work better. It will only work if the students are already capable of regulating their own learning. Differentiated collaborative activities may work for more advanced students, but in my case and in the based on the results of my research, it was not the students. I mean, the method does not work for the students in the grade 7 annex, grade 7 students in the CNHS Libotan annex, due to time constraints, and they are not ready yet for self-regulated learning. For recommendations, both feedbacking and FGD revealed that when implementing collaborative tasks, it is always best to start with the same task before utilizing differentiation. So this is like scaffolding, wherein you start with the whole class, then by groups, before giving the student the chance to express themselves. So for their um, personal tasks. So um, aside from that, it is also important to enforce stricter guidelines to facilitate much effective time management. So although differentiated collaborative activities poses very great benefits, but it was not properly utilized due to time constraints. For the second question, regarding the effect of students, of the level of motivation and participation to academic performance, the for all the summative tests administered for the three topics, the t-test showed that control group performed better than the experimental group. So um, the results of the summative test of 7 Kalabanga is better than the results of 7 Goa. For our conclusion, this is more likely due to um, the students having less time um, to understand the topic better. So the students from 7 Kalabanga have more time to break down the topic taught to them, and the clarifications and feedbacking are done with the whole class. On the other hand, for the students of 7 Goa, they don't have that much time to expound on what they did during the group activity, and they are not um, they are quite reserved in sharing things that they in sharing things that would be helpful in constructing knowledge. So for the recommendation regarding that, a high level of participation and motivation influences academic performance. 7 Kalabanga, although the lesson is lecture type, they are very active in asking questions. So on the other hand, 7 Goa, although they already have the tasks, the activities, and they just need to reconstruct things based on what they know, they still find it hard um, to understand the topic better. And giving more time for parsing helps students to master the topic taught to them as our recommendation. So for the third, the last one, the students' perception, the students of 7 Goa, after the focus group discussion, said that They like the freedom to express themselves and the progress to progress at their own pace, but they think that group works only inhibit them as some members are becoming too dependent and others are not helping. And for recommendations, differentiated collaborative tasks may not work for everyone, but it is useful in addressing diverse students' needs. And it is important to give students the opportunity to work with others. So that's all po. And thank you very much.